back to Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays, where we try to bring you the latest Linux news in under 30 minutes or more. Guaranteed. And this week, Firefox has went radio silent, but only for ALSA users, and Blackmagic has quietly released their editor, DaVinci Resolve, and we're going to tell you how to get it up and running.
Speaking of Firefox, you can now stream some Netflix in it, and Firefox brings Windows to ARM. Again, this time for servers.
Not Firefox, Microsoft. And
Yes,
you want
Microsoft.
a password manager, but you don't have a display server? Then we might have the tool for you. And it's always good for your open source project not to be confused with a pest control company. So Terminix changed their name to avoid that.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. I was going to open this up by doing just silence and that's my Firefox impression for ALSA users. But no, Firefox goes Pulseaudio only and ALSA no sound. Hey man, that's definitely a thing. Now, before you start getting your screech out and I hate it, they did a study, man. Only 4% ALSA usage for Firefox, but they're very vocal 4%. Kind of one of the negative things that did happen, they didn't mention it in the release notes of the latest version of Firefox. And yeah, it's definitely a thing. If you're worried about it, it's not going to get fixed. They don't see it as a bug, but it still works with Chrome. Matthew, my biggest question is, why are people still clinging to the ALSAs?
So I would say it is because of irrational hate for Leonard Pottering. And this is the most common pattern I'm seeing is, Pulseaudio, or bad memories of Pulseaudio not working properly, like 2007, 2008, maybe. And they haven't realized that Pulseaudio is actually quite good now. Yeah, I mean, ALSA is very low level. I don't think applications should access ALSA directly. And we've been there. It was horrible. It was chaotic. Now we have Pulseaudio. We might as well use it.
But playing a little bit of devil's advocate, Pulseaudio is prone to buffer underruns, buffer overruns. It'll do that sometimes. It's usually because of the ALSA plugin, but I've seen that happen just natively. Also, I guess part of the reason that people still stick with it is because ALSA just worked with things like Flash and other old bits of software that some people still hang on to and refuse to get rid of. But to agree with Strider, yeah, most of the hate stemmed from Leonard Pottering himself because he went around criticizing everyone for implementing it wrong. Oh, distro X doesn't work properly because they implemented it wrong. And at one point, people, rightly so, started questioning whether or not it was every single distro that was implementing it wrong, or if Pulseaudio just sucked. And yeah, then Fedora came around and said, no, here's how you implement it, this is how you do it. And Leonard Pottering was like, oh, see, they got it. So yeah, this is
and
basically...
also they released several major versions since then. So
yeah. And fact of the matter is, Pulse has enough advantages over ALSA that if we were to list all of them in this show, it would be 2 hours long. So let's not.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing, especially with this version of Firefox. Not only did 52 bring you the no sound with ALSA, it also brought our favorite thing, which is no more support for Hangouts, which we covered last week. Okay, snap time.
Well, Flatpaks, actually.
Snap. I'm calling it snap.
Yeah. Okay, so this release, it's not 0.9.1. It is mostly focused on the backend stuff. It improves the build system while also allowing the replacing of certain hard-linked files, like, I don't know, libraries, by having the person who packages the Flatpak set up manually. People will have to go in and manually set which files are hard-linked, which can be replaced at any point. So they will have to manually set those writable files, which is good in a way because it makes replacing certain libraries, if, say, a newer version of a library that was included in the Flatpak gets an update, that could easily get fixed without having to re-download a new Flatpak just to update that teeny tiny library. that makes sense for libraries, new libraries that change a lot, or if certain bits of software require, like, I don't know, if you decide to pack a browser in a Flatpak, you require a newer, or at least an up-to-date version of OpenSSL. It makes sense to keep those writable so that when an update comes out, you just update that. It makes sense.
So what did they do? They basically just introduced incremental updating? Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, it seems so. I mean, they're doing a bunch of good work on Flatpak. Wouldn't consider it to be production ready yet, but it's getting there. It's very close. And I bet that during the year, we might start using it for real. I mean, some distributions starting using it, like Solus, I know. Yeah, it's getting there. We're very close to having like a full product.
Well, how about talking about something that is already here? It kind of flew under our radar because they were very hush-hush about releasing this. Blackmagic, the Intensity Pro, and all the fun little video capturing tools that they make, which most of them support Linux, they've released their video editing, color correction professional tool of you can't afford it, so don't ask how much it costs, called DaVinci. 12.5 is now out for Linux. And it's free. I mean, this is like the basic version. I mean, you can do a lot with it. You're just not going to be making movies. I mean, it does HD editing and all that fun stuff. They have their spiel. Now, the first thing you might notice for this, they're targeting Red Hat or CentOS 6.8 or 7.2 systems.
You know, production Linux.
Well, you definitely got to think about that. My first thought, I was like, that seems a bit daft. I mean, because, you know, our box of business, what we use for production for this show and all the editing, is based on Ubuntu, and we all know how much old man Vin loves his Ubuntu. But you got a right tool for the job. But they definitely did this because, you know, we're living in a world where high-end Macs no longer exist, and let's face it, nobody wants to use Windows 10. But you're probably asking, hey, speaking of Ubuntu, how do I get this up and running on my box since it's made for RHEL? Yeah. And sent. It's not too difficult. I'm not going to go over it, but I'll give you some hints. All this will be in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it, just go to linuxgamecast.com, find this show, and boom, they'll be right there. You can copy pasta. But basically, all you have to do is install the libsl, SSL dub, dev package, GStreamer, the base of that, and you got to link libcrypto 1.0 to the x86 64 to just regular USR libcrypt. It's just location stuff. Then it'll start right up.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea what that was about. I had to look at a demo on YouTube to understand what the software was doing. And it's actually very, very cool. I mean, it does color correction. It does tracking of elements on the screen. It has a bunch of effects. It's something you will likely not need it if you're not in the movie industry. It's a really high-end editing software. And, you know, I mean, Linux has been around in the movie industry for quite a while.
I mean, the full kit only costs $995, which sounds astronomical, but not.
It's not a lot. I mean, if you want to be a total badass with this software, get yourself the 30K control panel, like the full.
Oh yeah, the one with the really, admittedly very nice looking round knobs. Yeah, I had a look at their hardware offerings as well, but I followed what Ven said to get it up and running. And while I was going through the the setup guide, it asked me, "Are you familiar with any of these other proprietary video editors like Adobe Premiere and a couple of others?" I'm like, oh, let's pick Adobe Premiere. I've actually opened Adobe Premiere twice. And, I mean, fair game. It looked a lot like Adobe Premiere, and the couple of keyboard shortcuts I still remembered did the exact same thing I remembered them doing. So, hey, good on them.
I definitely say the more the merrier, and good on Blackmagic for doing this. I mean, that is definitely forward thinking. Hey, You still have a Kodi box laying around? What's that? Both of you do? Okay, check this out. You can definitely get Netflix on it. And Strider, it's not just old-fashioned full-screen browser Netflix now, is it?
It is not. I mean, I've had a look at the source code. It's written in Python, and it fully integrates with Kodi, and it will grab stuff from the Netflix webpage and parse this and make it fully integrated into Kodi. So it's kind of neat. It's really well done. I haven't tried it because I don't have a Netflix account anymore, but it seems to be properly done. I mean, this is very cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. If you're thinking about Kodi, what's that? Sounds familiar. XBMC. They renamed it to that. And yeah, it's kind of, I did not get a chance to play with it because I plex all the things nowadays. My Netflix, I just hit the other button on the tablet that's Chromecasted throughout the house. But you definitely want to keep in mind with I call stuff like this hackware, because Netflix can change one thing and the tower of man, I can't remember the Futurama quote. Anyway,
me neither. But yeah, no, one thing you need to keep in mind are the prerequisites, both if you're trying to build it from source or you're just downloading it and trying it for yourself. So keep that in mind, because you do need libwidevine. They link a German description on how to get/install it. Might want to run that through the Google Translates. And inputstream.adaptive from the Agile branch build. Whatever that means.
Yeah, it's the same thing as with every other Kodi plugin. Is as soon as something changes on the other backend, then everything breaks. So you have to wait for an upgrade.
Well, something that is in the process of breaking.
Since we're on Netflix, well, we had a talk about Firefox breaking things, deliberately breaking things. Well, now something else that didn't work actually works, because Netflix have said that, hey, it's Firefox, it's on Linux, it supports the DRM, what do they call it? Encrypted media extension.
Is this some trick where you got to take the DRM out of Chrome or use a user? Wait, what?
Nope. Okay. You can use it because it fully supports, now that Firefox also supports EME, Netflix works. They just flick the switch. Oh, it supports the DRM now. Okay, flick the switch. Now Linux users can use it. You will need Firefox 52, if I'm not mistaken, but that's basically it. So you don't need
I don't want to be around the Firefox user groups, because I can hear it. They're like, wait. So you nerfed plugins so we can't use Hangouts. Got it. And you killed ALSA, but you've enabled DRM, and you can just hear the re from that all the way here.
You can watch Netflix, but you can't listen to Netflix. You just see the video.
No, all I have to say is, finally, it only took them, 2 years since they did that for Chrome?
Firefox, hey man, Mozilla Foundation, they're doing a lot of great things, but yeah, the Firefox browser itself it's kind of open to debate. And then again, this is 2017, and I mean, I asked these two, it's like, when was the last time you watched Net? And then there's like, we don't have Netflix. I was like, all right, fine. I don't watch, I got ginormous 4K monitors and stuff like that. I don't watch Netflix in the studio. I put it on the TV or Chromecast or watch it on a tablet. That's just me. But Strider, make this make sense.
Okay, so
Someone
this is Titan. It's a password manager for the command line. So it's written in C, and it's using SQLite to store your passwords. And yeah, it's fully managed from the command line with flags and options and whatnot. It seems to be quite cool. I mean, I don't know if I would use this. Maybe on servers. The thing is, I use mainly KeePassX to manage my passwords. But this one looks pretty cool. I mean, it's not the only command line password manager. You have a bunch of them. This one, you have the C option, but you have password managers in Python or Node.js. Not that it makes any difference anyway, because the final product is all the same. Yeah, it seems to be properly done. So if you need something for a server and manage passwords and keys and stuff like this, give it a try.
I don't know, man. Every time I look at something, it's like, oh, it's command line password. I was like, well, you have a plugin for links? I mean, that would be quite handy, you know, when I'm browsing around. Personally, I think, Strider, you actually got me on that one. You know, the passwords google.com, that's the built-in one for Chrome, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, love that. Mainly just because it syncs to all the Android devices in this house, which there's a billion of. Outside of that, you know, I have like 3 main blocks of a password that I use. It's like 28 alphanumeric characters. Actually, there's 2 wildcards in there now that I just mix around and break. And as Pedro can attest, because Pedro's like, well, what's password to Twitch? Which I respond to with, I don't know.
Try this one.
Yeah, this sounds like a world of pain.
But
I'm not really surprised by this.
It's not a world of pain. It's a house.
But yeah, no, it's okay, I guess. I mean, if you are doing stuff exclusively for the command line and you don't want to remember all the passwords you need, yeah, that's probably something to keep in mind. But I'm with Strider on this one. On Linux, I just use KeePassX.
KeePassX and Dropbox for synchronizing all the devices.
Oh, as you say that with a blue sweater, are you getting sponsored? I mean, what's going on here, man?
Yeah,
just how encrypted is it? Because Dropbox probably going to have a field day with that one.
Okay.
No, it's
closing out the lot here.
Indeed, this is Microsoft saying, "Hey, these ARM SOCs are actually pretty power efficient. Let's bring Windows Server to these and see how that goes," because apparently Microsoft would like everyone to forget just how terrible Windows what was the other? RT. Windows RT was. Yes. Please forget that.
Forget about how terrible, man. They're trying to make people forget it exists.
Yeah. But yeah, no. The guys from the Register, there'll be links in the show notes, don't you worry. They bring the news that Microsoft is bringing their server-based system architecture to ARM to provide a much more power-efficient Windows Server. Why you'd want to use that? I don't know. But there was a quote at the end of the article that I enjoyed reading. "It's time for a new generation of servers without the 30-year-old applications or the need to support hardware drivers and access methods that haven't been used in 30 years. Well, that would pretty much require dropping Windows altogether because of all the legacy cruft it invariably gets shipped with. I
don't think Windows existed 30 years ago.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't. It did? Let's see. The first couple of versions.
The big take about this, I mean, they're saying, hey, man, you got to watch out with this ARM architecture because it's coming out with the SBSA, which basically allows, it's kind of locked in. It's like you can access all the stuff without needing any wacky sauce. Way oversimplified. I'm trying to save some time here. And they're like, Intel better watch out because ARM's on the way. It's going to kill them all. Linux on ARM, that makes perfect sense. Windows on ARM, are like, hey, remember when we made that thing for the Raspberry Pi that nobody? It was like, shut up, Microsoft, go away. But no, the kind of in the article, they're like, Intel is oh boy, ARM's going to get Intel. Intel's like way ahead of you, Brad. I'm sorry. I'm about to stick up for Intel and I'm going to feel dirty about it. So prepare yourself. Yeah, SBSA, it's not a threat to Intel. Intel's way ahead of you. I mean, Intel licensed ARM like back in August of last year, and like in October of last year, they released their, the Strix 10, the FPGA, which had a Cortex A53 in it. And yeah, Intel, they played stupid on purpose for about 6 years trying to shove x86 into a mobile package that didn't drain your battery before you blinked. I have a tablet with a quad-core Bay Trail in it. Sometimes you can make it to the other side of the house before it goes flat. They're moving into ARM. And ARM in the server room, I mean,
it makes
perfect sense, man.
It makes sense. It is very power efficient, and it can do the exact same computational workloads that an Intel SoC CPU can do, but it uses a fraction of the power. I mean, just look at those stupid Atom phones that Intel tried to push for a while. It makes sense. So let's see how this goes. And they actually mentioned Linux in the article. They say that, yeah, Linux has basically already been doing this for the longest time. So it's just Microsoft catching up.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
but then again, Microsoft has released their own version of SQL. They got their own Linux distro based on Debian. Microsoft's going to pull an IBM. Mark my words, 10 years from now, they're going to pull an IBM and turn it into just a service company, especially when they roll out Windows Cloud. And that's probably going to be running on Linux.
Yes, it will probably run on Linux because that makes the most sense. Because having Windows on ARM is one thing, but you won't get any of the software that exists for Windows. So basically, who wants to run Windows without software? I mean, Windows is not a choice; it's more like a requirement because you have
That's
to
why
run,
RT failed miserably.
and that's that kind of like you have to run a specific piece of software, and it will be most likely written for the x86 architecture. And yeah, so you would have a Windows, and that's it, and maybe a couple like a web server, SQL server, and that's about it. Meanwhile, I mean, everything on Linux is available for that architecture, and every other one. I mean, you take Debian. Debian, you have every software for everything you could ever imagine. So yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to use Linux here.
Okay, I guess we're just about wrapping up with the news. There's just a teeny tiny story that Strider kind of snuck in here. What's this?
So Terminix was the terminal emulator I used. So, but there were some conflicts with another company, which is totally unrelated to Linux and terminals. It's a pest control company. So they received a letter from lawyers telling them to change their name. And yeah, because there were some trademark issues with that.
I would have fought that with, I would have called up, whoever to get some funds because there would be no brand confusion between a terminal emulator and pest control. They had a case for that.
There are not really, but I mean, if anything, Terminix, the terminal emulator does Terminix a favor because I didn't know about Terminix, the pest control company before that. Yeah, but I mean, now it's called Tilix. Pretty good. And pretty much that's pretty much it. I mean, they released a new version. Pretty much only maintenance upgrade. Mm-hmm. Nothing really new here. A bunch of bug fixes. But yeah, I read the article like yesterday, I think, and today I was trying to open a terminal and it said, okay, what's going on? I don't have Terminix anymore. Yeah, because I had received the upgrade and it automatically removed Terminix and installed Tilix.
All right, that's definitely going to do it for that. But we do have the Raspberry section coming up with Let's Encrypt and a simple script for that. But first, let's thank the people who make this thing possible, man.
Yes. And if you'd like to prove that you're fiscally responsible enough to be one of the, well, there are currently 100 Patreons, but we'll get to that. If you'd like to send some cash our way, go to laterscapecast.com. You hit the support button.
Someone
on
didn't
the
read
bar.
the show notes, did they? Let's talk about the beautiful people who make this possible. Yes, you are right. 100 Patreons, 179 funding, not just this, but our gaming show, plus our 2 live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we need to thank our latest, who help keep this loud live, ad-free, and or independent, and that is one, Herr Colin Taylor. Bit awesome doing this, and for everyone who is currently a Patreon, give yourself a pat on the back because you're awesome as well. Some things you might notice at patreon.com/Linux Gamecast is we've added access to our Discord. We've kind of had a small circle of Patreons in our Discord until basically I figured out how to use it. Now that I know how to use it. Go ahead, jump in, talk to us. I mean, I'm hanging out there more and more. We're currently 20 What Stinky away from Serious Fang. That's going to bring us up to the $200 mark. That's going to be brilliant. Then we can start putting some money back in the coffers to go to some live events and stuff like that. And speaking of the J-Man himself, last night he did a live stream, Tides of Numenera. If you like that type of stuff, it puts me to sleep personally, but I know a lot of people are into it as part of our streaming Patreon goal. And hey, we now have a schedule, if you will. go check that out, linuxgamecast.com. Hit the schedule button. You'll know when we are going to go live. But what I really want to get into, Pedro, Strider.
Yeah. You had some issues with this. I saw your posts last night on Google+.
No, check this out, man. Amazons. If you buy something through the Amazon, send us a note so we can properly thank you on the show. But look at this. We got UK, USA, Canada, and snap, France. France is in the house. What do you think?
What about Portugal?
France is in the house. All right, it's kind of brilliant. And seriously, I know we've had a couple of people ask about can you add the French field. Buy something through that, because I had to sort through 4 pages of French, and Google Translate was no help in this whatsoever. And it was like trying to make sense of a drunken Yoda who only spoke Latin. And I pulled it off. Everything's approved. We're good. Doesn't cost you anything. You're like, hey, man, I'm thinking about buying $1 billion worth of stuff. Head over, hit our support button, just click that. It takes you to Amazon, whatever, and we get a little bit of the taste, and that adds up, helps us out. It keeps us from going. And the next segment is brought to you by Microsoft. Actually, we might take a Microsoft ad, but that'd be funny. Last bit of housekeeping before we get into the pie. PayPal buttons, one-time recurring payments. I had some people ask, because I didn't even realize it, because I'm not a clever man. We have $3.50 a month, Sea Monster level, $10 a month, recurring, or anything you can kick us, which is brilliant. Buy us some coffee or an adult beverage. But if you do the $3.50, we can also hook you up with some Discord access. Just send us some, a little message right there. And same thing with the $10 recurring. You can get access to the show notes and Discord. For those of you who are like, man, I don't know about this Patreon thing. We'll work around with that. Okay. I'm too much. Let's
get into that slice of pie then. So, Strider, you are the one that seems to be all big fan of that Let's Encrypt thing. Well, we all are. Let's face it. So, what's this about?
I am a big fan of Let's Encrypt, but this is I wouldn't say it's a script. It's more like a tutorial. There's a bit of a script here, but it's mostly targeted to your Raspberry Pi and for Apache. So, a small segment of users. What it will tell you is how to set up your Raspberry Pi and web server to set up, Let's Encrypt, create some certificates, and do it almost pretty much in an automated manner. So, cool stuff. Personally, I don't host stuff on a Raspberry Pi, and I use Nginx. So, probably not for me, but I'm pretty sure it's useful for the person who made this and for a couple other people.
No, it's definitely a cool piece of kit, especially with the Raspberry Pi. And, I was originally like, who would run a web server on Raspberry? I was like, you got Apache running on a TiVo, then shut up. So there is that. Moving on, we're running short on time. Beep, beep.
Beep. So that's kind of neat. It's a device you plug in onto your Raspberry Pi, and it transforms your Pi into a full-blown sound.
It's a sound card.
A sound interface. You got audio in, audio out. You got some knobs to control volumes. You can do all sorts of neat stuff. And they got an Indiegogo campaign, which is pretty much funded right now. And it seems to be quite neat. It seems to be a lot simpler than trying to set up audio on Linux, for music and stuff. So looks neat. If you're
I think they're funded just a little bit though. 311% sound good.
They're pretty much good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they did talk about the button, because they have a button. If you have a system, if you want to run their a little soundboard there, if you want to run it with a headless system and you just want it to take care of the audio bits without having to futz with it, they implemented the button, and they literally call it a button is all you need. So we called it the button. Everything is set up. Although if you do have a monitor,
and I would already be ordering one right now if they'd called it the muffin button.
No, they just called it the button. But let's wrap up the slice of pie with the NetBSD adds Raspberry Pi Zero support with 7.1 release. And yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Just people who hate themselves.
If you are, say, trying to power your very own DIY fully open source router, access point, what have yous, you can add a couple of Ethernet ports through those I/O pins. So you could,
header.
yeah, you could do that, or literally just set up any kind of embedded device with which you think NetBSD would be the better option. Now that I think about it, doesn't Sony use BSD as the basis of most of their PlayStation operating systems?
It uses BSD.
Yeah.
It's called BSD license.
Yeah. So you also get the newer versions. The 7.1 version of NetBSD also brings you better support for NVIDIA GPUs, which includes the Jetson TX2 that we talked about a while back. So if you want to set up one of those boxes with NetBSD, I don't know if it'll work out of the box as it currently stands, but having Nouveau ready to handle most of everything in BSD is definitely a very, very good basis for that.
Strider, do you get any really, really quick thoughts about this other than you can't buy one?
Yeah, I don't know why I would choose NetBSD over Linux to use on a Raspberry Pi, but I think NetBSD is maybe a bit more lightweight on resources, so it would be maybe a good choice for a small device like this. I don't know. Still,
like most things that we cover in the Pi section, neat but questionable usage, but they're still fun to talk about. Hey, that's going to do it for the main segment. We got a little bit of feedback coming up. You want to scream in our direction. You know what? Let's just back right into that. So, yeah, head over to linuxgamecast.com, hit the contact button, send us a message, man. If you have some questions, some thoughts, show ideas, or maybe you're angry at us, don't worry about that. Our feedback section on the Saturday show is called Hate Mail. We can take it. Okay, so into this business. Coming up first, PSP Frere. The Asgard High Council sends one of their speakers a goodie. This is from about 2 weeks ago, but I missed it in the box, so we definitely want to give this attention. It says, well, I think this is just hopeful thinking. There's still a glimmer of a chance that this might lead to the release of some or all of the PSP code for all AMD platforms, and he links us over to the Reddit thread from about 15 days ago, so about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
You see, when he says PSP, it's the platform security processor, not the PlayStation Portable.
Yeah, because I would have thought that the PSP was owned by Sony, not AMD.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, the PS4 is running an AMD CPU, but we're getting sidetracked. This is like the push for everyone to use or to contact AMD to say, like, hey, could you please open source the platform security processor so that we can get core boot and have a truly open source system with an AMD CPU? That would be great, and since Intel is not about to, AMD is really the only choice. And it would be kind of awesome if they did, but like Van said, I don't see that happening.
I'll give everyone a pro tip, too. One thing I don't like to see the Linux community doing, I don't speak for the Linux community, only myself, is annoying people into submission. Never works. All recorded history, that's never worked unless it's like a marriage. So...
And even then, well, Sensi Bleb apparently wants us to save the Linux Action Show. Did you guys see the last week Linux Action Show? Chris is stopping the show since it's not shared enough. What?
I had to go, yeah, all right. I had to look into that. That was my reaction. I was like, huh? Apparently on full disclosure, man, I've known Chris for 5 years. He's a buddy of mine. So, and Jupiter Broadcasting is a patron. Take everything I was about to say with a grain of chainsaw. Went back and like watched that segment of last. They're just like thinking towards the future. They're not getting ready to shut down Linux Action Show. There's like, hey man, we're just kind of looking at like the social engagement with the show and all that. and it's kind of low, and they believe that that is an indicator that maybe it's going to start declining in viewership. So they're just like prototyping new ideas and stuff like that. I did read the Jupiter Broadcasting thing on the Reddits. They have a subreddit, and it seemed like everyone was like, you guys don't do enough interacting with the community and all that. I don't know. Jupiter Broadcast, the Linux Action Show comes on Sundays. Guess what I'm doing all day Sunday? Our Saturday show. I haven't been able to sit down and watch that in a long time. They did say it was like, it's a legacy show. It's been around 10 years. I kind of feel that with our gaming show. Our Linux gaming show has been around for 5+ years. So yeah, I mean, people just get used to it. And I kind of think one of the commenters, there was like, hey, we're the Linux crowd. A lot of us don't have social media stuff. Well, I also understand that. But yeah, I don't think you have to worry about the Linux Action Show going anywhere. Maybe a reboot in the format. And I think Matt had a thing over at Freedom Penguin from Brian, that Duke boy. Head over there and check out their thoughts on that. They had some additional ideas. Okay, do we have any thoughts, hints, allegations, anything going on?
Yeah, I would like them to release the Lutris interview before they go down.
They still haven't pushed that out. Okay.
Right. Beautiful people. Thanks again for showing up, checking us out live. If you're doing that after the fact, you're still awesome, even more so. If you want to scream at me, I'm at Vinstone on the social medias and plus Vinstone on the G+. I always get back to you, just not in a timely manner. That's my problem.
I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me on the G+s at plus Pedro Mateos or on Twitter at @unaccounted_for, #SaveLAS.
And I'm Mathieu Commandon. You can find me on Twitter at Strikor or on Google plus Mathieu Commandon.
Okay.
And also,
we'll see you next week. Pedro and I will see. We might see you tomorrow. Who knows? We got a live stream coming up. We haven't figured that out. #LGC cares. Bye-bye.
That's the hashtag that matters.
Hi, NSA.